to talk about time this morning. So we talked about focus, which includes time, but I'm going to just be talking about how we think about time, because I think the way we view time and the way we think about time completely changes the way we live our life, or dictates the way we live our life. So if we have a bad concept of time, we're going to have a bad way of living our life. So I've talked about time here before, I know that, but this is something that I think is very, very important, and we're going to just go in depth a little more. So the more value we place on time, the more time will place value on us. So as we give value to time and we live that way, time gives back and adds value to our life. Does that make sense? When I make these little statements, I made them, and so they're a little hard to understand sometimes. So I'm just making sure you're with me. So time grows all things we do repeatedly. Time takes the things we think and do over and over again and turns them into big things in our lives. So it's the things that we put time to that actually grow. Not the things we want to grow, but the things we put time to. So there's a difference. You might want something, but you don't put time in, and so if you don't put time in, and good time, focused time, it's not going to grow. So whatever we do over and over again is what grows. And here's the interesting thing. Time is no man's slave. It grows the good, the bad, and the ugly, regardless of who we are. So like I just said, you might want something, but what you're doing is different than what you say you want. And time doesn't care what you want. It cares about what you're putting your focus and energy into. So it's going to grow the good habits, the bad habits, and the really ugly habits we have that we keep doing over and over again. We can't control it. Pretty simple, sums it up. Where we invest our time is where we get our returns. So if you're investing your time in something, playing guitar every single day, you're going to get a return. You're going to get to be able to play guitar very well after a certain amount of time. But if you're just really, really into The Office and you're watching every season of The Office and every episode, you're going to be really good at knowing what happens in The Office. That's where you're going to get your return. I've talked about that kind of stuff. If you really spend a lot of time on Facebook, you're going to know the latest and greatest of all your friends across the United States, but you don't know what's happening with your own life and the people around you. Because you're investing your time on Facebook, so that's where you're going to get your return. Does that make sense? It's pretty simple. I think this is pretty interesting. Time works with us and then for us. So time is always working with us, but we can't expect time to do good things for us if we're not doing good things with our time. So think of time as a person who works alongside of you, and you got to do the right thing because he works with you. He's not out there doing something good while you're doing something that's not so good. He's working with you. And as you put in good time, doing good things, then he starts working for you on those things, because time is that momentum. It's that domino effect. It makes things happen. So you can't put in time doing bad things like we talked about earlier and expect good results, because time works with you and then for you. When we place the right value on time, we invest our time at the right place, giving us the right results in the right time. So, like I said, it's all about our thinking about time. When we think correctly about our time, we're going to invest it at the right place, and then we're going to get the right results. So being efficient at what we do is done by placing value on time, and when we value time, we'll spend it where it matters most. Remember, I was talking about that with focus. You figure out where you have to focus all your time and energy, and that's when things happen. So when you realize that time is a big part of that, you're going to make sure you spend it very carefully. And that is when time starts working for you. If you're not spending your time wisely, time starts working against you, because time just keeps marching on. And if you're not spending it carefully, then you're going to be inefficient. You're not going to be making the best of time. So for an example, let's say I'm running a crew. If I park my truck an extra 100 feet away from my job, we all know what that does. Time starts working against us. So if you have to park your truck that much farther away, we have to, as estimators, figure that in because time is working against us. But if we can park even 20 feet closer, that is using up less space so we can walk less, and we're spending our time actually installing fencing versus walking back and forth from the truck. Those kinds of things are making as many decisions as we can about how we spend our time. We're going to spend our time doing the actual work, not spending extra time walking back and forth. That's why I say make every trip count. When you walk in, you walk out with something to take something back to the truck, you bring something back. You always are making every trip count. So whatever you do day in and day out, look for ways to not waste time doing things that don't matter, but spend time where it counts, and then time starts working for you. So time rewards the wise and punishes the foolish. This is pretty much like common sense, but it's something I wanted to talk about. Time is the one big thing we seemingly all have equal amounts of, and maybe that is why we seem to value time so little. Because people act like their time does not matter, like it has no value. They just spend it wherever they want, they waste it, and it's like time is the most valuable thing. Yet what we do with our time determines what time will do with us. The most valuable thing we have. If we treat time as valuable as it is, time will treat us as valuable as we are. I've never seen somebody very successful who has not placed a high value on time. If you want to be successful, you will put a high value on time. You will be successful at relationships, at work, at your personal life, whatever it is. When you really value time, you can be successful. If you don't value time, I guarantee you, you won't be successful unless you win the lottery, and even then I doubt that'll be long-term success. If we want to live a life of high value, we must place high value on time, and time will take care of bringing the high value. It's a little back and forth here. If we want to live a life of high value, we must place high value on time, and time will take care of bringing the high value. Because you're doing the right thing, and then just give it some time, and the right results will follow. I talked about investing financially here, I don't know, maybe close to a year ago, and what I was saying was I had, I think, about $20,000 I invested into a rental property that I could have invested into a car. And the difference that time did with that. Time, 10 years later, I had made close to $80,000 on that investment property, where if I had put $20,000 into that car, it would probably be worth, say, on a good day, 10 years later, maybe $10,000 or $5,000. See the difference of time? So when we do the right decisions, give it some time, the value follows. So if we want to live a life of high value, we'll invest our time where it counts. We'll spend time reading those books. We'll spend time talking to mentors. We'll spend time with good friends. We'll spend time investing where it counts with our family. And then a life of high value follows. So let's be more efficient with our time, and that comes from valuing time so we don't waste it. It's kind of clearing that space so you can do more with less. You have to kind of think about time as valuable and stop wasting time so you can spend your time where you want to. So time grows all things we do repeatedly, not necessarily what we say we want. Time works with us, then for us. We have to do the right thing, and then time starts making good things happen. And time rewards the wise and punishes the foolish. The last way I want us to think about time today is like a vehicle, like a car. I love cars, so if I can make something line up with a car, I will. Reaching our full potential is made possible when we understand the potential that time has to take us there. The understanding that time is a vehicle that is taking us somewhere, and that where we go depends on where we steer our vehicle called time. So you're moving through time. So time is this vehicle taking you somewhere. And it is up to each one of us where time takes us with the decisions we make about how we spend our time. That steers the vehicle. So it's up to each one of us right here where we're going to go and the life we're going to live based on how we steer our vehicle. Where do you want to end up? If you want to end up at a certain place, make the decisions that'll take you there. You put the time in with good focus like we talked about last week, not just putting in time. We hear this like, I'm going to just go put in my time and then I'm going to retire. Well, you do that kind of thing, you'll get to retire, but you're not going to live a life of full value. So put in good time, good focus time getting what you want.